Well, we are announcing the org right now at the time of recording this in 10 minutes. Asmund's already streaming and it's all ready to go. And I figured I should just take a couple seconds to tell you guys why I decided to do this with a group of my friends. Basically, if I go all the way back, and this video is going to touch on a few things and not go super in detail. It's kind of like last minute thing. Just wanted to tell everybody what's on my mind before OTK gets launched. There will be more videos kind of shedding light on all of those things that I start to talk about, but I don't really have time to talk about right now, soon. And we have a lot of huge plans. But basically, it goes all the way back to some of the stories that I told you guys in the past when all of a sudden I didn't have a place to stay, and then all of a sudden I wasn't studying what I was studying in college anymore. I was floating around sleeping on friends' couches. That pretty much put me in a place where I didn't really care about much except doing exactly what I wanted to do all the time. And a few years ago, I guess maybe now 6 years ago, so not a few, I randomly bumped into a buddy on the street named Ethan, who helped us a lot getting some stuff off the ground with OTK, and I'm sure he's going to help us a lot in the future, so thank you, Ethan, for always being a great friend and also for helping us out. But I bumped into a buddy named Ethan on the street, who was kind of the first person I ever streamed to, because we went to college together at NYU, and he used to sit behind me during Warlords of Draenor and watch me play while we were in class. I'd turn around and be like, and Ethan and I were in a bunch of video game design classes with each other, and he literally, I can hear S-Man and Tips right now. We're running all over the place, getting the last minute stuff ready, but he basically bumped into me on the street and he said, "Hey, I'm working at MLG. You should come in and you should just try to get a job there." And I went in the next day and got the job. And the second that I started working there, I knew all I wanted to do was just make stuff. I loved making different videos. I loved being a part of all the shows. And that was when I think the mindset that I had that really led me to make the org really started. Because I was working on Rocket League at the beginning of my time at MLG. And I would go in and I would shoot videos that I knew we would never make. But I would stay after work and I would make these videos because I was having so much fun. And I was like, there's a chance that people will see this video one day. And that's the best feeling I've ever had in my entire life. And I've never lost that. Ultimately I went on to cast because, Chris Puckett was literally getting married and he needed someone to fill in. And I loved that. I loved getting to create stuff live. But that mentality of, I want to make stuff, I want people to see it, and the rush that I've gotten from it has always been the driving factor, and it's one of the reasons that I've been doing what I've been doing, and I've been so happy. All of that led to Allcraft. And Hodded hit me up and basically said, "Hey, do you want to make a show?" And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. Our first guest was Asmongold. And at the time, he was getting probably 2K viewers, which back then was a big deal already. It's pretty crazy to see right now. We're about to make the announcement. He's sitting at 80K viewers right now. Just how far all of us have come. And Asmongold was the first guest on Allcraft. And after the show was over, he goes, "What time next week, dudes?" Motherfucker invited himself to be one of the co-hosts of the podcast, and I didn't know at the time, but that's how I met one of my best friends. And sure enough, we made a lot of stuff together, spent a lot of time together, and he's genuinely one of the best friends I've ever had in my entire life. And it didn't end there. He not only taught me how to make great content, not only did he make great content with me, push me to stream, push me to do stuff that maybe I thought I want to do, he also introduced me to S-Man. And I'll never forget the first time I met S-Man. I was hosting South by Southwest. Get attacked by a goddamn bug. I was hosting South by Southwest, and Asman was like, like I was in Texas, right, for work, and Az was like, "Yo, dude, we gotta eat some fucking barbecue, dude." And he shows up with S-Fan, and like, you know how sometimes you just instantly meet a person, and you just go, "Holy shit, did we just become best friends?" It was like one of those moments instantly. I remember that whole night, and we were all hanging out, and there were a bunch of people there. But when I think back to that night, I just think about meeting S-Fan. And it didn't stop there. S-Fan introduced me to Tips, to Mizkif, and it was just this group of people that remained really good friends, but when we actually came up with the idea, it was just so obvious it was going to happen. And one of the things with OTK is I want that experience to be something that we can create in the community as well. Just that idea of people coming together around games and forming relationships that last in such a meaningful way, even without the game, right? The game is the background music for everybody to hang out. The idea for what we have made for this organization, though, is very different than what other orgs are. And it comes back to that idea of wanting to make things. Now, Asmongold and I talked about, like, this was something I wanted to do for a very long time. And I told Asmon, and Asmon was like, yes, like, I want to do this. And we started working on it. And that was really around the time of the duel tournament, the classic dueling tournament. And we flew out to Texas and we made it with S-Fan. And we were like, S-Fan, we had this idea. And S-Fan was just basically like, sign me up. Let's do this all the time. Let's make more duel tournaments. And you can think about how long the duel tournament was. That's how long that, you know, Asmon and I have been working on it. Then S-Fan ultimately came on board. And that was really a few months ago when S-Fan started really working on stuff. A lot of the stuff at the very beginning, I got set up with Asmon. Then S-Fan came on. And already, even at the duel tournament, this was before we had even talked to Tips. But Tips, his name was in the conversation. He had already done stuff with CDL. He was already one of our friends. And the guy just gets shit done. And it's a really great balance with the group. And ultimately, when Tips came on board, Tips and I work very closely together. And it's just like this dynamic duo that's, it feels so good, right? Like you have that duo vibe and you just know you can get anything done. And Tips and I have done a lot of the stuff behind the scenes together. And then Mizkif, we basically, how Mizkif ended up being on the team was we were all in a group call, and I like, it's so funny to think about this now, but we were all in a group call, and we basically kind of wrote down the names of people that we wanted to be on, and we knew we wanted another person to start this with us. We all wrote down all the same names, and everyone's number one was Miz. It was just like, without a doubt, and there was just a conversation, whatever it takes to get Miz, let's get Miz. And we like had all this, like, we were talking about, like, okay, how do we make this like something that's like good for Miz? How do we make this like juicy? How do we get him on board? And we called Miz. We told him the idea before we were even done. He was like, yo, how do I, like, I'm in. Like, we didn't even finish telling what it was. And Miz, I would say, was one of the people that I wasn't quite as close with when first started everything out with this. Like, we weren't quite as close. I've always respected him so much. And as we've moved forward, guy's a fucking genius. He really is. And this group of five I am excited every day. And I'm happy every day that I get to work next to these guys, to have fun with these guys. The reason that I decided to make this organization with my friends is because I feel like this is the natural progression to everything that I've worked for in my entire life and everything I've enjoyed in my entire life. We're not going to be like some of the other orgs that have existed in the past. We're going to be a group that comes together in these 3 houses in Texas. We'll constantly be surrounded by our friends. And we are going to nonstop make not just easy, like, we are going to take risks on shows. Yes, we're going to do tournaments. But, you know, that science show that I've talked about all the time on stream, these high-produced shows that I've talked about all the time on stream, we've made something big enough that we can actually make those. It all starts today. Welcome to OTK.